Alrighty, guys. Geek Out number 41, Dauntless, The Lost Fleet by the pen name Jack Campbell. We have two guests today, one returning, Mr. Ramsey, and finally got Joe from Unity 151 on. We've been having a lot of fun doing this buddy read and partying on Rajathon's Discord, talking about it, doing all that fun stuff. And yeah, before we get into it, want to give you guys the opportunity to talk a little bit about your guys' channels, because I know we all talk books, but we kind of have our own little niches a bit, right? So Joe, you're the new guy. You want to go first?
Go for it. Well, yeah, I'm Joe, Channels Unity 151 Sci-Fi BookTube, and I basically talk mostly military sci-fi and space opera books, some sort of thrillery stuff with a bit more action-y regarding sci-fi. A couple model videos, and I've been interviewing authors as well, mostly sci-fi, but I have got a fantasy one coming out. Yeah, that's pretty much it, really. I try and do a video every week of the book reviews of an in-depth spoiler, non-spoiler. That's it, really. Spam videos.
You know you've made it when you start get authors showing up on your channel to talk books with you.
Well, I've done 4 videos are out. 2 videos are recorded. I've got another 3 booked in. I've got Kevin Kennedy, I'm doing that someday. I'm recording it in the next couple of days, I think. He's one of the co-writers, co-owners of the Four Horsemen series, and he's got Kevin Kennedy Publications or Publishing, something like that. So he's quite big, but he publishes quite a lot of books. And yeah, the Four Horsemen series, I didn't realize it's huge. I think from 2013 they started. Don't hold me on that, but they've done over 50 books now.
Wow,
which is mad. So like the 4 guys started. Well, there's 2 guys started. They had this idea of doing this Four Horsemen thing. Then 4 of them got into it, having one of each of the Four Horsemen, and then they've just pulled other authors in who want to join in. They've just got this massive universe that you can just play in and just do this. It's huge. I didn't realise. Like I had no idea. This thing's massive. So I've got him coming on.
Nice.
Josh Hayes is coming on from Keystroke Medium, who's the president owner of the Key or Co whatever. Of that, there's 3 of them or 2 of them who do it. So I've got him coming on, I think Thursday, doing an interview, and then Scott Bartlett as well. You know, he's quite big. Yeah, he's got quite a few. He's big for sci-fi. And November we're looking at doing an interview for that.
Do you read any Warhammer 40K stuff?
I've got 2 books. I used to play. I used to make the models, and I tried playing it, but I like making the models and stuff. So I had Chaos, Tyranids, and Space Marines and stuff. So I used to read the codexes and stuff. I never read the books. I've got them, but it's just time.
Yeah, I just picked up the guidebook. Well, see if I could reach this without pulling my headphones out.
System guide.
But I just picked up the guidebook and read a few of the books, and I really am enjoying. My brother is also doing it, and he picked up the first 5 books in the Horus Heresy, which is, I guess, like the start of it. But yeah.
Well, it's not off the 40K, because they're split up in like 40, 30. There's a huge history of it. Like, it's ridiculously big and fancy words as well.
Yeah, I've read a few. I like it so far. It's a cool series.
No, it's cool.
So I guess I'll jump in. My name is Ramsey. I do the Rajathon YouTube channel, which is actually really hard to search because there's a lot of Raj type YouTube channels that are all Indian people. But if you do exactly how it says, it'll ask you, did you really mean this? But then you'll find my channel. So maybe I should change that one day. But I'm a big sci-fi fan. And I like classic sci-fi. I really enjoy fantasy, classic fantasy as well. Reading a lot of Brandon Sanderson right now. But yeah, I just kind of talk about books. I like to go in depth with them. Doing the Dark Tower right now. If anybody's read the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, that's a lot of fun. And yeah, I have a Discord. If I don't know if there'll be a link to it or not, but if not, go to my channel, and it's a lot of fun to join the Discord. We do the read along there, and would love to have you guys join us, because this series has, I believe, 5 books, and then there's a companion series that comes with it. And so I'd love to read the whole thing. I'm really enjoying Jack Campbell's writing, so I'm down to read a lot more of these books. And if you guys want to do them 1 month at a time, or if you want to take a break, let people kind of get onto it, and then start back up in November. I've got the second book, so I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I am good with whatever pacing you guys are down with. I know we're all juggling a lot of different books, but they're relatively quick, easy reads. I think this is the first read through for both of you guys,
Yep.
right? So I picked up this series years ago, read the companion as well as the spin-off, though I don't think I've gotten through all of those because they've added a couple. And Jack Campbell also has a really fun young adult series that's kind of like mages and mechanics type thing. That's pretty interesting. It's more along the fantasy realm. But yeah, I really enjoy his writing and really enjoy this book. Blackjack Geary is just a fun character to follow. And yeah, I know you guys have already beat me to it. Got the spoiler-free reviews out there. Hope to get that out on our channel here eventually. But yeah, should we summarize it a little bit before we get into the spoilery part of it?
Yeah, sure. You've got the book in front of you. You want to read the blurb? I borrowed it from my neighbor.
Oh, you wouldn't want me reading it out because I mess it up. So
Okay.
I'll have a crack at it. Here we go, live.
No
After
pressure.
100 years of brutal war against the Syndicates, the Alliance fleet is marooned deep in enemy territory, weakened and demoralized and desperate to make it home. This is where I go wrong. On my videos, editing all the time. Their fleets rest in the hands of Captain Blackjack Geary, a man who had been presumed dead, but then emerges from a century of survival hibernation to find his name had become a legend. Forced by a cruel twist of fate into taking command of the fleet, Geary must find a way to inspire the battle-hardened and exhausted men and women of the fleet, or face certain annihilation by their enemies. There is an extended of this on the other books, not this one. It's like another sentence or something, but that's pretty much what I've got.
Yeah, it takes kind of an older trope of the like revived ancient warrior leader, and then throws it into like sci-fi naval engagement, right? And
Yeah, it feels very much like ship combat.
yeah. And in the audiobook, Jack Campbell talks a bit about it, and I guess he was in the Navy before he started. A career as a writer, and you could definitely tell that.
I think in the Navy, I don't think it was communications. I think it was not signal, kind of the actual word for it, like the navigation. I think that's what he did. I did watch an interview of him. I can't remember, but he did that for quite a while as well. So he's got good experience on like how you would do naval warfare regarding distance and stuff. I think that's what played into doing such long distance. As we did it quite futuristic regarding all the technology and stuff. That is kind of how we would do it at such distances and the time lag and stuff.
Yeah, I remember the first time I read through it. That's something that really stood out to me, because I know in like other sci-fi series that I follow, big Star Wars fan, and like everything seems to be moving so slow motion that you have like these big extended engagements, yet it doesn't make as much sense as like when Jack Campbell does it. Like they're going at like light speed, right? And sometimes faster than light, and dealing with the distortion there. And like the combat itself isn't so much about like the combat per se, but it's more of like the high scale admiral level kind of like four-dimensional chess, or at least that's how I think of it when I'm reading along.
It's like he is playing a strategy game. He's actually moving the entire army. You know, like how you play a strategy game, you click, you send these links, you do this, and you sit back and they do the fighting. That's pretty much top-down view, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like how he'd be talking. He's like, okay, well, they just entered the solar system. Sorry, my kids are running around. They just entered the solar system. Okay, that was 10 minutes ago. Like my information, like I won't even see them as they enter the solar system for 10 minutes because we're that far away. And light, you know, we think of like faster than light travel being super fast, but you know, from the sun to the earth, I think it takes like 13 minutes or 14 minutes for the light to get to us. And to think in like that amount of time, you could be making movements and guesses and doing these things where, and I don't know science well enough to know if 13 minutes is right, but it takes time. And he described that so well. It was one of my favorite parts of the book where he was describing the all right, well, this is happening now. And then when we get to the spoiler section, I'll talk more about that because it was a lot of fun for me watching the battles.
Yeah, I really enjoyed how he used the Madam Code President. We were debating this. I think it's Rion. To be kind of give us the explain it like we're five version of it, because obviously there's like all these technical, you know, advanced people who are used to this stuff. Then us, the viewer, is like, okay, like how does this work? And she asks the questions, and then it's like, oh wow, like he actually put a lot of thought into this. And for me, the difference between like the sci-fi and the fantasy is like how much of it's believable, right? Like, is it scientifically plausible, or is it just the hand waving, like combat, you know, flight, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
I think thinking about it, I think this is classified as a hard sci-fi because of like the traveling, and I know you've got like futuristic weapons, but you're always going to have, you know, that's the whole point of futuristic stuff. But I think pretty much all of it was as realistic as it can be. Even with like the made up stuff, they've still grounded to realism. Like you've got that, there's a specific weapon that does something, which is really cool, but it's got its limitations and it can't do it at certain ranges and stuff. So like everything that's you know, made up, is still got realistic or as realistic limitations to make it realer than, you know, space. Just everything can be done as and when. Yeah. Trying without spoiling it, it's a bit hard. So you've got the what's the captain? How did you pronounce it the best? The one who's the actual captain of the Dauntless.
Dejani, I think.
Yeah. She was really good because she was very team him, so she was pro regarding giving him information as well. She was another good balancer because the Madame Co-President, she was very rigid as a character. She was very now I liked her, but she was, I don't know, I swear on her, a pain in the back end. So like where, you know, she was like that, and then you got the captain of the Dauntless. Those two really balanced well with each other, which was good because they didn't like each other. So I like that. What was the other one? There was there was quite a lot of politics in the game as well.
Yeah.
The book, I mean, lots and lots of politics within the fleet and how their fleets evolved over the 100 years of constant fighting. Some stuff's progressed, some stuff has digressed. I struggle to believe how some of it's digressed, which I have spoke to you about that, Ramsey. But like, it's a very interesting take on everything and like how people have been acting over 100 years of constant battles and the mysteries and the fact they don't even know why this war started.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could jump into spoilers now, but like the way he kind of described it, it makes sense, right? So they've been doing these battles and basically they're just boom, 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 all this fighting. So all these kids are basically running ships. It's super, super young kids coming fresh out of the academy, and they don't have the time to learn the dynamics of like when he does that final battle. I imagine like the Syndicate ships are coming through this way, or this way, and then he circles them all this way, so they're cross-firing, and they lose like 3 ships total when they destroy a whole Syndic fleet, and they overwhelmed them. You know, they had better numbers, but I mean, I don't see how, like, with the time difference, you know. So he's like, all right, you're this far away, you need to fire in 0.02 whatever, and then you need to fire here, and he's like playing, like you said, 4D chess, and he's like, okay, this boom 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 boom, and then he's running the fleet, and then you notice when that one guy didn't follow his instructions, he ended up out of position. And then he's like, oh, well, you put me in a place where I couldn't do anything. He's like, no, put yourself there. And he's able to say that in front of everybody. He's like, I had this plan. I had it all laid out. If you'd have followed my orders, you'd have got to kill people, you know. And the dynamic of, like, Geary is this legendary figure from the beginning of the war. And he's up here with everybody. They all emulate him. But then when he's like, no, that was like a last-ditch effort. That was a suicide mission I was on. You can't run your military on a suicide mission. He's like, you have to make plans. You have to be able to back up, you know, and that's what they were doing. They were like, oh, well, Blackjack did a suicide mission. We all need to do suicide missions. And that's why they were losing all those ships and those people. And
well, that's how they got into this situation in the first place. Yeah. They got the technology and they're like, let's use it. Let's go.
Yeah. And
let's not make a second version. Let's go.
Could you imagine, like, not getting something, walking right into a trap, and, you know, then your entire fleet is in a trap. Like, they basically lost the war if Geary didn't get them out of there. And so, yeah, but the Syndics fight the same way. They fight head on, you know. Okay, well, you know, like, I thought the idea of, like, an alliance and a corporation, like, butting heads, was a cool way to do it. Like, running a group of planets like a corporation where they do checklists and files and all that. I thought that was great.
Something to the regulations. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, no, it's something I'm curious, because, like, obviously I presume we're going to find out in later books, but, like, the size of a syndicate or syndics must be huge to be able to take on the alliance, which is obviously multiple planets and groups or whatever. But this is where I think they've had, obviously, they were dropping hints at the end about the old aliens and stuff, weren't they? So I've got a funny feeling there's going to be aliens. You don't drop hints. You say, if you show a gun in Act 1, you've got to use it in Act 3 or whatever it is. So I've got a funny, yeah, like, I get it. But the Syndicate, bar the hyperlink, they're not any more advanced. So how the Syndicate, this is me picking holes in it, can actually withstand the alliance, they must be huge, but they've only got one home planet. From what the story said so far, they've got a home planet with obviously the outposts and all these other little mini planets and whatever. But their size must be either massive or, I don't know, or the alliance is tiny. I mean, you know, because you've read the further books. You're grinning at me like,
I'm trying not to do any spoilers, so I'm counting on you guys to keep me honest here.
Well, we won't spoil other books. I don't care if personally spoil it to me, but for the video's sake, not spoil in case someone else is watching. They're like, "Oh, book 2, what did you do to me?"
I feel like the planet they went to attack was like the CEO, where the CEOs lived.
The board of CEOs. That are over all the other CEOs. Yeah,
it's it felt like everything Geary did was like common sense too. It, you know, like, and you talked about, Joe, where like they voted. Like, okay, this is our battle plan. Now let's vote on it. He's like, no, I'm in charge of the fleet. I don't need to pander to you to get votes. Like, you know, it's like, no, we're doing what I said. We're going to do this. And then, like, they don't even salute anymore, except for the Marines.
Yeah.
Which, you know, Marines, they stick with
tradition and
tradition.
Whatnot. Yep.
Our Marines stick with tradition too. Which, if he was in the Navy and the Marines don't really get along, but he treated the Marines really well in this book.
I feel like
they're his biggest supporters in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I feel like this is like, for him writing this is a bit of obviously a bit of all authors bleed into their books, but the way where the Navy was run, but the military still to a degree stayed to their roots. I feel like that's a part of him, from obviously something he must have witnessed in his career. I mean, something that's happened to him or what he's witnessed around he's exaggerated it for the story, but I think there might be actually something there to do with him.
Yeah.
I liked, I don't know how you guys felt about like the religion that they had too, where they basically tried to honor their ancestors.
I like that.
I thought that was really, really cool. It kind of felt like Eastern culture with like the Japanese and the Chinese, where they have a big respect for their ancestors, and how he, spoke to his ancestors. He was actually quite religious, where some of the other people weren't. And he was like, I'm trying to honor my ancestors. And a lot of the people felt like the ancestors sent him out of the past to come save the Alliance. I thought that was like, I always loved religion in books. That's why Sanderson's books are so much fun for me. But yeah, that's always a big part for me. I enjoy reading that.
It was one of his big challenges too. Like he was dealt a lot of them early on in the book, people's perception of who he should be versus who he actually was, the difference between how things were run now versus then, as well as just like people seeing him as like almost this religious figure, right? Like he's here to save us, can do no wrong. And just in so many ways, like I really get frustrated when main characters are too perfect or flawless, and he's not. Like we can see through his experience and his superior training, because he came from a time where they were allowed to do that versus the constant war. But he's constantly calling himself out about like, hey, I can't think of myself as the way they see me. Like, I'm not infallible. And he reaches out to Dejani, even though she worships him in a way, like, hey, if you have questions, like, challenge me on it, talk to me about it. Like,
the co-president was good on that too. Like, she'll call him out on it too. Like they expect you to be this person, and if you're not this person, they're going to challenge you.
And we get to see that struggle as well as things progress, because there's ways that he wants to do it, but he also knows that he needs to maintain that support and that buy-in from his captains. And kind of like walking that fine line to the warmonger versus like the coward and their perception of him. And like this book for me, like it's an awesome sci-fi book, but in so many ways, like Blackjack Geary is just like an incredible leader, period. Just the way he approaches things, the way he thinks about stuff.
One moment that I loved on that was where the resource manager or resource general or whatever, he's like, oh, I'm too busy, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this. And the way he manipulates him to be his like personal resource manager, and then puts another guy who's more motivated and wants to get stuff done over the resources of the whole military. And he like gives him this project. He's like, he'll probably work on this project till he retires. And that was I loved the way he manipulated that.
And there's so many good nuggets in there too, right? Because like his lesson is that, and the takeaway was like, how do I work within the system and regulation to solve this problem, right? And then the way he diffused the situation afterwards when the group of captains that were challenging him constantly, he's like, well, if you don't take my word for it, go ahead and reach out to him, and I'm sure he'll tell you that it'll take a while to get your response or something like that. Just like completely diffuse the situation without coming down with like an iron fist or whatever. Like, how dare you question me?
Proving the point of why he made that decision. It's like, go on then, you know what I mean? And they know it's right. They just wanted to be funny about it because they're all getting pushed around and they're not used to it because they vote.
Yeah. They want to hold a vote when they have less than an hour to come up with a plan on how they're going to get out of this. It's like, how boxed into your thinking are you that you're going to hold to how things are done when the man from legend that you all worship and quote, even to his face, is here to help you guys. Yeah, it's an incredible book.
I love. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, I wrote some things down, and you look like just gone on, and I'm like, I'm going to jump back. So, like, what I was going to say about the religion thing, like the ancestors, like he is actually an ancestor, like because he's got his grandson, I think his great nephew, I think, or whatever. Like, so, like, like all these people, like they talk about their ancestors, or not that they've sort of stopped doing it, but they've got their ancestors and stuff, and then like they've got this guy who is an ancestor in theory, he's 100 years old. So that was a good play on all of that, and the fact that he didn't want to go for a while to deal with it, partly because he was busy and partly because he was a bit he wasn't obviously not scared, but a bit sort of like, I don't know, it was just messed up in his head, because a big part of this book is how he's dealing with it. You know, he's just been woken up and he's not physically fit. He's on medication and stuff, and they're trying to get him off the medication, and he's fighting whether to use it or not do it. And if people see him using it, will they make him weak? Because he has to put on a strong persona to try and be this Blackjack, even though he's not that person, because they've twisted it as a legend over the time. And then when he starts getting a bit of power, he even talks about the fact that he doesn't want to become that, but he's kind of becoming that because he needs to become it to actually get them out, to save them all. And once he's achieved that, he could keep doing it to win the war because he's the only person who thinks like that. But then he becomes not a dictator, but he becomes that central power person, that's where the Madame Co-President woman's always at his heels, chewing at him about it, because he needs to be like that. But she's like, no, you can't. Are you going to be bad? Or, you know what I mean? And she's just like gnawing at him like a little Jack Russell, which I like that. She was a pain. She was a right pain, but I really liked her dry bluntness.
She helps bring him back, right? Which is good, because with all that hero worship, how could it not go to somebody's head, especially after that incredible defeat that they have there? Was it like the third system in this book that they're in when they finally do have the confrontation? Yes. Because they won't get the bird doesn't get off the ground, and Blackjack's going through and like weighing all his options. He's like, I really don't want to fight at all if I don't have to, because from my understanding, they literally brought every possible ship they could in service to this fight, and like their homeworld is defenseless in some regards, and they keep getting further and further behind enemy lines. And he's lucky enough that he has enough people that realize he's not this man of myth and legend, that he's just a good commander, to give him good advice and call him out. It's like, that's what we're here for. We're here to fight, right? Like we need to defeat them. And then I think Ramsey said it was like they lost like 3 ships or something compared to however many they had, like such a one-sided victory.
How many of them are actually alive at the beginning?
I think they lost 50% in the initial conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said it was in like the 40s or 50s that they had.
And that's of like,
because he talked about all the captains. Yeah.
Right. Not including the hundreds of like little light cruisers or whatever that kind of run along. So there's, I think you're right. Like 30 to 40 of, was it like 3 different classes of ships? You kind of have like your utility supporters like Titan and, I forget.
They're auxiliary.
Yeah.
The ones who repair the fleet. You've then got battle cruisers, destroyers.
I'm a close watcher.
Yeah, you do. Because at the front of the book, there you go. You've got like it actually does show you all the ships. Now I think what's it got? Nice. Yeah, as recognised. Yeah, so like on this book, so you've got the first page and it says like
it's got a breakdown.
As recognised following the losses suffered prior to Captain Geary's assuming command. Yeah, so these are all the ships that I think he's got left. So you've got like a 2nd battleship division, you've got 3rd division, 4th division, 5th divisions, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and then you've got scouting battleships, which I presume must be a little bit smaller, but close enough to the same size, more engine over actual weapons and so on and so forth. This is a big point of why I like this. I love Battlestar Galactica. It's absolutely amazing to me.
So say we all.
My gosh.
Say we all.
Show. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
As much as I love the Battlestars, all the different classes, even the old 80s and even the new ones and everything, they've got a carrier ship, which is an attack vehicle. A carrier does not go and attack. That's not what a carrier does.
What?
No.
You know, carriers, they have just planes on them, but like even in future, they have ships. The whole point of them, they're at the back with all the ships, and then the destroyers and the they don't have battleships now. but like the destroyers and the heavy cruisers and whatever the other one's called from here, they all support that, and then they go out and attack other ships coming to them and so on and so forth. Yeah. What's good about this is they've got all the different variety of ships that do their job in the fleet. The whole purpose of a fleet is made up of different ships to make a fleet to do their purpose, because some are quicker, some are more heavily armored. You've got like auxiliaries and so on and so forth. This is something I really liked about it because it was more realistic, again, due to the fact, obviously, he's been in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the same as like, I know people pick at, there's other channels that I watch on here that pick at like Battlestar Galactica and Star Destroyers and stuff. It's called a Star Destroyer, but it doesn't do, it's a carrier. It's a massive carrier that has weapons and stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what was good about this, is it's actually a fleet of ships, not a single mass-produced one ship.
Yeah, well, it's like if you ever watch the Navy, you've got the carrier, and then everything is aligned around it because it's got guns on it, but it's a giant, almost defenseless thing that is carrying a bunch of other ships on it, and planes and things like that, and so yeah, you got to surround it and protect it. Kind of like when they protected the Titan. I thought that was one of the cooler parts of the story, where they said they could basically make anything. If they have the raw materials, they can make weapons, they can repair ships. Like, it's like a it's like a shipyard all to itself, and they can basically, that's why when they got to that third system, they started all those mines back up, and they filled those mines with metal. And basically they can rebuild all their ships through that. I thought that was really, really cool.
Turning it into a flying elephant, right?
Oh yeah. It was full of metal is just like hard to move the thing. Like,
which makes sense. Again, like, props to Jack Campbell for the believability, right? Like, so often you read stories where like there's none of those like cons to it, right? Like, and here are his decisions that he has to make. Like, am I better off planning for the long haul, topping off everything I can, or do I keep it light and nimble, right? And then his fleet's only as fast as his slowest ship, because he can't leave it behind. So then again, like, it limits him. And then just those captains that are constantly a thorn in his side as he goes and explains these very well thought out strategic moves, and they're like, no, we should just fly straight back. Like, what are you thinking? All we need is our pride and courage, and that worked so well for us in the Syndicate home system.
Yeah. God, you know what I mean?
Well, you really saw it when they came into that first system and they're attacking that small satellite base, and they go, all of them just rush in to like try to kill. And that one ship comes and almost takes the Titan out. He's like, you guys are so out of position. Like, what are you doing? You guys aren't following orders.
Well, the Titan lost the support ship to Titan. That's because it went off with the rest of them. Because they were like, yeah, I want to get the first kill. They all just streamlined off like a Zerg rush. And then it's like, poor old Titan's like, the big boy at the back, kind of keep come on, guys.
And I think they said that they brought 2 of those auxiliary ships, and the other one was destroyed. So Titan, if they lost Titan, they were screwed.
Right, I think.
I thought they had a couple more.
I thought they had like 3.
But they didn't have all the stuff that Titan had.
Oh,
Titan's
yeah, I think you're right. Like, Titan is a little more of a full shipyard, where the other ones are not quite as advanced. So I think, yeah.
Did they ever get any food from that failed, where the merchant ships were supposed to be like kamikaze pilots, basically?
So that one didn't work out for them. I don't think they got any of the resources there, but they were able to loot some Syndicate bases. I think the same place they got all the other resources in mining, like travel rations, type deal.
The initial blackmailing the Syndicate planet, they didn't get that because they then sent them suicide mateys on the ship, didn't they? And it all failed, and they sent them back, and then they ended up killing their own guys. But that's something to point out about the syndicates. They have something I liked is they had Syndicates. They've got the defense platforms, space station defense platforms, and Blackjack. I think Blackjack. He even points out there's no point having them because they're just they're stationary. They can be shot easy. They don't move. Mm-hmm. So he's come up with the idea that it's probably the fact that they've got them to keep their people actually under control, because no one wants to be under basically a corporation. Like, you know, whatever anyone thinks about whatever in this world, everything controlled by a single corporation is too much. So if it's just, you know what I mean, such rule regulations and, you know, no fun, costs too much money. You know what I mean? Like, so like that's why they've got them stations, because they're going to use them on their own people to keep them in line.
Mm-hmm.
But then
final threat.
Yeah, well, it's like don't give us your taxes, we'll blow you up. And then then when they went to the mine, which is where they were talking about the Marines were talking about why did they wipe all their data and then do something else to the computers, because they're saying like humans wouldn't do that because they know that, or people who knew the syndicates wouldn't do that because, or whatever kind of reason was, but they did it anyway because they knew. I
think they actually like uninstalled their operating system.
That's it. They
instead of wiping data, they just like basically they made the computers like boxes. So they took all the operating systems and everything out of there because they were like, we do not want something to get into this. They weren't sure what something, but they like did everything they can to keep their data safe.
And the same with this, I think it was a safe, wasn't it? That they said that there's drill bits that were not the right size, or some random unique size, which would be easy to find. And no one would bother actually trying to get into a safe because they know that the syndics would actually take this stuff away because they're all like, you know, checks and balance, must do. So that's kind of
made me think of like here in the US, we have like standard size drill bits. So like 1/2 inch drill bits, even like 17/64 drill bits if you're, you know, trying to tap and die something. And then you guys have metric over in the UK.
I'm an alien because we use
No. See, but like I'll have like a 7mm drill bit, you know, and I'll use that every now and then. And it's close, but it's not quite right. And then you imagine like a third system, you know, where they're like, oh, well, we're going to use, I don't know, like, I don't know how it would work, but like that's kind of what it made me think of.
13.5 inch, 13.5 inch, very close, aren't they? I think 1/2 inch and a 13mm, they're like a few mils off each other working. So it's someone who uses that bit in between. So it's like, don't quite fit, and it's a bit too big. It's just that little sort of, that's what that is. That's all their little teasers that got me going. And I thought, oh, they're going aliens.
That foreshadowing. That foreshadowing. Bite my lip.
And he did a lot of foreshadowing too on like if the aliens might have been the cause of the war. Yes, because the Syndics have never said why they attacked us. Or I call it us. I'm not part of the alliance, but
we're alliance, man. Yeah, let's go.
Earth is alliance.
There you go.
Well, I want to touch on Earth. What was saying before? There's 4 auxiliaries left. There's Titan, Witch, Jinn, and Goblin. There's 4 of them. I just had to have a look. But I think they must have had 2 auxiliary divisions. It doesn't actually say who's dead. It just says who there's alive. But there must have been. I think there's 2 of them. That's what the problem. They lost half of. Or there might be 3. I don't know. What was I going to say? Then about the minerals, the mining. When they was in that place, they got rations, and I think they got the mines. Did they get the mines going? And they got some of it. I think they did. They did top up. They filled up Titan because they got Titan brimming in the end. Bar the one at the end. Did they save the people? Did they get the transport at the end? I can't remember.
Yeah, they went and got them afterward.
They did actually get the. I can't remember. I'm so bad at remembering stuff.
Yeah, as he was going through and reading off the his requirements of war or whatever to the Syndicate. And they were making the symbols of like evil or whatever. He's like, hey, you know, we got a bird down. Avoid this, otherwise, at your own peril, sort of a deal. So yeah, sorry. Continue, Joe.
Is this actually set with Earth, or is this a complete random made-up universe? I don't know. I don't even know if it said about Earth, did it? I can't remember.
No, I don't think it ever mentions it. You know, stuff like Dune, they mention Earth like way back. But like, and there's a couple other ones where you like Warhammer, like the Emperor lives on Earth. But I don't think this one ever mentioned Earth.
I like not involving Earth because I always find whenever Earth's involved, they always add Mars and it colonizes Mars. It's like, be inventive. Come on.
Yeah.
Leave Earth and Mars alone, for God's sake. Just.
Have you read any of the Expanse books?
I've just watched the show. I haven't. I started watching the show first before the books, and I haven't got time to. If I can, I can't add another series to what I'm reading.
The Expanse. When I did my review, the Expanse is like if you took the military out of it. It's like all the common people, and then like this is like the military side of that, like practical sci-fi kind of stuff. I've only read book 1, but I really enjoyed it.
I heard it's good.
It's on my TBR, but I'm in the same boat as Joe. I got too many series to catch up with. But I'd like to get to it.
And I can't listen to my audiobooks at what time 3 speed you have it going to say? Oh, I tried at 1.5.
I can do on like books where they're talking really slow. I can do 2, but I can't get much faster than 1.5. Like I'm listening to Oathbringer at 1.75. Yeah, I'm still like halfway.
Oh man. Yeah, listen to a couple hundred audiobooks and just slowly keep scaling it up, and you'll get there to the point where you don't realize it until it's on speaker and people are like, "Are you listening to that in like Chinese or something?" I'm like, "Wait, what? What are you talking about?" It's like, "Oh no."
If I'm reading along, 1.75 is right about my reading speed. So I don't know how much faster I can go than that, but sorry, my kids are knocking on the door because they're locked out.
So this is what because my kids are all in bed. Because trust me, you think yours are bad, they try to sabotage me on purpose. They actually want to come and make noise. And, it's the thin walls here that you will hear them. Like one's there, the other lot are quite far away. But this is going to be my kid's room. The one in there is going to come in here, then the one over there is coming over here, and then I've got to find somewhere else to do it.
You're fully rebuilding your house, right? You're like
So like I've what I've done is I originally, we bought a big stack caravan, and then I had that, and then I've extended out properly, and then I built over here as well. So we had a caravan, like one of those big ones. Then I've extended out, actually building my building. And then eventually, in a couple of years, I'll then get rid of the caravan and then rebuild on there. So it's literally just we started like one bit. I sort of build sort of rooms, and as I'm progressing, I'm just doing it as and when I can do it.
Yeah.
So whenever more kids come along, you just add more rooms.
No, yeah, that's what we got to do. No more rooms now. No more children. No more children. No more puppies. No more dogs. No more animals.
Famous last words.
See, I said that too, and I went to the doctor, and I went, boop.
That is what I'm doing. Before this whole COVID malarkey kicked off, I was like, right, I'm getting it done. I've got 4 kids, 6, 5, 6.5. One's just turned 5. One's going to be 3, and the other one's 1.
Oh, wow. All young.
I'm actually 19. This is not a 19-year-old film. This is children's first.
Oh, yeah. So who was you guys' favorite side character?
Now, for the brief time you saw him, old Michael, who was his son, I thought it was quite nifty the way he sort of popped up and then died. I liked him. I liked the character's dying.
His spunk. The way he talked to Uncle.
Yeah, like, I don't like you. I don't like you because I have to be like you.
Yeah.
That was quite a big, powerful bit. And that because it happened so early on as well. I know we're diverting from your question. Because it happened so early on, obviously, Geary's like, he's woken up. All this chaos has happened. The war's still going. He's just been woken up. They've lost. Then all come on, and then everyone's dead. He's like, you're in charge. They're like, you're in charge. He's like, oh, well, you know what I mean? He's trying to get off drugs. He's, medication he needs. He's weak as anything. He's got Madame Co-President chewing at his ankles. He's found out he's got one of his great nephews or whatever's alive, and he's like, I don't like you because of you. I have to be like this. And he goes and gets himself killed. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I feel sorry for poor Geary. Stressful life.
Yeah. He's like, I hate you. Go find my sister. Tell her what happened.
Yeah,
right.
I liked what was his name? He was like a captain of another ship, but he kind of was like, I know you're just a guy, but
Yeah.
I
Right.
appreciate your level of competency.
The one that had pirates in his ancestry, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what his name is.
I'm sure we give it an M.
It might have been. I wish I hadn't given the book back. I bought the next book on Kindle, and I'm like itching to start it, but I've got like 10 books right now going.
I stick sticky notes in this. I think I said, like, I stick sticky notes so I can find names, characters, anything specific I want to talk about. And I didn't do it this because I wasn't going to do a review, but I thought, I like it, I'm going to do a review. And like, so I did all of that off memory, and I haven't got nothing in it, and it's.
Yeah, we know who you're talking about, and everybody who's watched it or read it should know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he was cool.
He's one of my favorite, and then I also like the Major General Carabali.
The Marine captain, yeah.
Yeah, he had the theories about the aliens. That's I like it because of that. He's got my sort of mind.
Yeah.
I thought Calbani was a female.
Yes,
Okay.
she is.
Yeah.
But yeah, she also is very, very formal, very old school, but kind of has a bit of spunk to her as well.
Do we get more time with her later in the books?
Am I allowed to say?
I mean, you can like generally, like
the Marines. It's very similar. Moving on, the Marines are part of the story going forward.
Okay, cool.
And this one, we got some ground operations, right? As they were going.
You didn't see anything though, did you? It was very brief.
It was pretty brief, but moving forward, it sticks to very similar format. So we still get some more of the ground operations. We still get more of the naval operations. If you like the first book, it builds well on all the same good stuff.
Okay.
So, that answer it without doing spoilers?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think you did pretty good.
Thank you. Were there any aspects of the book that you guys didn't like? Like, as much as I said, I really enjoy how the combat works. Sometimes part of me wishes that, like, in the actual clashes, there was maybe a little bit more, but I understand why it isn't that way because of the hard sci-fi, because they talk about it. The humans wouldn't have actual time to fire, right? Like, it's all, we got to run our station and then we pass each other so quick that, the interaction's done and over with.
I wish the space battles were longer.
Yeah.
Like we got more of a, I think the end battle, which was the big one, was done in maybe 10 pages.
Yeah. A lot of hurry up and wait, and then wham bam, done and over.
Right, I'm going to pick on this, and I think that guy's name is Captain Duellos, Duellos. I butchered that.
Dulos.
I think that's his name. I had to have a look. That's bugging me.
I think you're right.
Right. The battles. I think the problem is, what's hard is you can't drag this out because of the way it's done, because it's top-down view. You can't actually go into detail of the damage the ships are taking because you're at such distances, and it's all from his point of view, from what he's looking at the screen or what's going on. I think that's the problem, because I like detail. I'm reading. There's a series, Alien Firestorm, Blood and Rust by some guy, I can't remember his name, I'm terrible. But he does real good detail in his ships. Like, so you see the fight and it talks about like the impacts happen and they fire the missiles and it hits them and back. But even if it's big or small scale, because the way it talks about, you can do that. But because you're talking with so many ships and they're at such far distances, you can't actually see what's happening. He's hoping that the ships do their jobs and they survive unless anything specifically happens to his. But obviously he can't go killing himself because the whole plan falls apart. So he has to stay back. So that's why you don't get to see. Well, I agree. I'd like to see more. Like, I thought, I like ships is one of my biggest things, but I understand why you couldn't do it, if you know what I mean. And it's building up to it because the entire thing was a mess, so he had to retrain everyone. So you couldn't have loads of battles or else everyone would be dead. So you've got to go through the painstaking of training everyone, which I don't like the actual training of things. Like I say, oh, he's gone. What happened to him? I don't like the painstaking of training anyone, but only because I've read a lot of books that I already know the sort of stuff's happening.
Yeah.
But it's building up through it, so you're not gonna. You might still have some training, I think, but you're not gonna have the same level of having to train the fleet. So you should get more detailed, more longer battles. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of why it didn't lack, but did feel like it lacked. If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally understand that. Like the Expanse, they're just a single crew on a single ship. So you see a lot more of that, like, oh, we did this and we attacked this way, and we blah 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 blah. But I felt like this book was a lot more like a kind of we were talking about Warhammer, like you get all your pieces in, and then you're like, all right, this is what needs to happen. I liked it though. I did enjoy it. One other thing I liked a ton.
You see that side of window? I love it. Oh, what's that?
He's like, what are you doing, Dad?
I love it. Good on him, though.
But one of the things I thought was really cool before we end, because we're getting close to an hour, but how brutal the Syndicate was, where like they go over to negotiate, and they're like, all right, let's broadcast this negotiation, and then they blow all their commanders away. And then they're like, okay, well, all your commanders are gone, so you don't know what to do, so you're going to be stuck. And then
that was their theory, because of how it would happen to them. If they lost their top CEOs, the CEOs lose their bosses, and they're like,
like their whole structure was just gone in 2 seconds.
But that probably would have happened if it wasn't Blackjack being there, because of everyone has to vote and everyone only cares for their own ships. They would have then fallen apart.
Oh yeah, they got picked off individually. Just boop boop boop, and they were gone.
Now, something that I didn't like about this book, which we spoke about, and I'm going to go on again. I don't see the military regressing like that. I struggle. Unless every single old person got killed and somehow they lost how you can train people. You know what I mean? Unless every single senior officer died in every single battle, because have we ever been at peace on this planet? We've been at peace, but we haven't really been at peace. You know what I mean? We have wars and we have a break, and then we have war again and a break. And if anything, we've just got better at how you fight and tactics and learning stuff. And I know there's stuff that we don't know that they know, like the military side, they know how to do stuff because they don't tell the public how to do specific things. But they will have it somewhere on the system and with people who know each other and stuff. You'd have to be literally wiping generations out, which I know they have done. But you're talking like everyone from 20 above is dead and there's no one to tell you anything. But if that's the case, the amount of chaos which would happen, you just fall to pieces as a society. You know what I mean?
I'm with you, and I think he tries to answer that by saying the losses were so severe.
Yeah.
And we hear that through Dejani and some of the other people, just the amount of losses. But my counter argument to that is if technology is so advanced and we're seeing like the ships are so advanced, how much of that training would truly be dependent on the individuals, right? Like, don't you think there would be kind of like computer systems or modules or like war video games, if you will, that like they could still do in their training, right?
We've
like
got simulations now that do everything. This is the thing. I don't know when the book was written.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking 2020, the famous year. So what we've got technology today to when this book come out, which I don't know when this one come out.
I think it's a little over 10 years old, so it's not like really that old. Like still enough that you could speculate about the possibilities. And he even does the simulations when they're training, right? He's like, oh, I wish I had the fuel reserves, but I don't. So they're able to practice that way. So yeah, like I'm with you. Like even if the losses were that extreme, they could still train. And why would they sacrifice that advantage of training? Because if it is war all the time, you think they'd just be throwing computer module after simulation after simulation, like fine tune your skills.
See, with that, because they're very anti-AI, so nothing is AI run on these ships. It's all by a person. So they've got to give enough time to train to how to use these things. Even if they're real basic systems, you still got to train enough to do that. So it's not going to be hard for someone to run some simulations and beat like, you play chess, you play easy, medium, hard. Such simple chess games. I had as a kid when I was about 12 or something. So if you've got something like that, all this tactic works. Someone to run that for a simulation and be like, so when they send an entire blob of enemy at us, if we just go around and then just get a concave around, it would do. I feel like he made them too not simple, but simple-minded. You know what I mean? Or tunnel, like the entire alliance is just so tunnel vision. Which, okay, I get it, but I have more faith in the military and society regarding. We would get more aggressive. I feel like we're at war for 100 years.
Well, they were,
we would get,
right? Like pride, charge.
It's kind of like the anti-Ender's Game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Instead of like focusing more on tactics like Ender's Game did, they focused more on, okay, we'll build more ships, kind of how Russia did with the Cold War. We'll just build more stuff. We'll just keep throwing stuff at you.
Yeah, you know what?
Yes.
It was only 60 years ago, 1940. What was that? No, 50, 60 years or whatever it was. I can't remember what it was. When, Russia was doing that, they just had the numbers. They just launched. They just made tanks after tanks and men after men, and they had some horrendous losses. Just for, and it's, I suppose, no different from what
you can always make more people. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's kind of why they lost the Cold War. They just bankrupted themselves. They kept building and building, and then they couldn't afford it, and they were like, "Oh, well, our government fell apart because we don't have any money."
Yeah,
just print more. It's okay.
Yeah,
it always works. Print more money. It's all they don't tell you. That's what I never understand. Why say we're printing money? Just print the money and just sort of like, here, go back. Just restock it. Don't tell people, we're printing money. Oh, wow, stocks crash because no one. Don't tell you're printing money. Just print money.
Don't have enough gold to back it up.
Don't tell no one. Just get bricks, lay places down. Because I think, in Britain, all the gold's done. They've got this old, I can't remember where it is. The gold's all done by weight and how the currency thing or whatever. They've got something. They have it all. Some guy literally picks up a bit of gold, puts it over here, and then that's how much a gold's worth or something like that. That's how they do the whole gold, what the gold is to money, whatever it is. All you need is just fiddle the man, put some bricks on it, be like, they're a little heavier. Don't tell no one about this stuff now, Come on, man. There's ways around it.
See, all the US gold's in Fort Knox, so I'm not sure how that works.
That's what I'm saying. You don't know. They just we're okay.
Bringing it back now. Joe's going to run for Madam Co-President's position when she's up for re-election. On a very finance-heavy platform. Typically try to keep these parties to an hour, give or take. What else about book one do you guys want to touch on before we wrap things up? It's a quick book. It's an awesome book, and hopefully after this stream, a couple more people will join us for the read along for the next 5 books of the first one, and who knows, maybe we continue beyond to the next round.
I would love that.
I'll keep going. I'm happy. I'm enjoying this. It's nice.
It's an awesome series, and for so many reasons. I mean, we only touched on a handful of them in this stream. Yeah. It's good stuff, though. Yeah. What do we miss, guys?
I don't have anything else I want to talk about. But I definitely, if you want to follow Discord and join us in the read along, because I had a blast with it. And I'm really, really excited if people want to join us. It was fun talking about just while reading it. And I would love that if people join us.
Absolutely.
Exactly what Ramsey said.
Cool.
Almost done.
Then while we're in the final hour before we wrap stuff up, what do you guys have coming up on your guys' channels that you want to plug?
Go on, you go.
I have. Let's see. What's the big? You cannot be in the video.
Joys of kids.
Get out of here.
Daddy's gonna get in trouble.
I'm gonna be doing some. Your mama's gonna kill me. I'm going to be doing some breakdowns of the Cosmere. I know you guys tonight are doing Oathbringer. I'm not quite done with it yet, but I want to break down the Heralds. And then I'm going to do a bunch of Halloween stuff for October. So that's I'm going to read a bunch of horror books and hopefully maybe do some discussions on that. So
awesome. Looking forward to it. We'll let you tie up your kid. What you got coming up, Joe?
I have got Tuesday an interview I'm going to be putting up, which has got Tim Akers on. That was a good one. He's a fantasy guy. I think he's published through Beam Books.
Okay.
So his new book that's just come out, which off the top of my head I can't remember what it's called, but that's going to be up Tuesday. Yep. That is it, and I'll do the Sunday video on Sunday where I just talk about a recap about what I'm doing, what I've got coming up, general chat. It's more of like me talking to the webcam than actual like information about the books. And then a review. I think I've got the Royal Marine Space Commandos book 2. I'm doing a review because I got sent that by John and James Evans. I think it's John Evans. So I'm going to do that, get that up hopefully for next Friday, and then I've got loads more to do, but I haven't got time. But that's it. That's this week and next week, and it'll be the same pattern. I'll try anyway.
Nice. Before I forget, eventually...
Weren't we going to do Edge of Valor too? Talk about reading that? Edge of Valor?
Yes, we want to read along with that as well. Yes, that's Josh Hayes'. That's apparently... See, that got nominated for the Dragon Award. Didn't win, but it got nominated for the Dragon Award, and it only got beaten by Savage Wars, which is by another...
Is that Galaxy Edge?
Galaxy's Edge, yes, it got just beaten by that. I want to read that Galaxy's series. Edge. Yes, that's I want to do.
When you do, I would gladly go back and reread that.
There we go.
Would love to talk to some guys that have a better military background and understanding with that stuff.
I hadn't heard of it, but I'm down to read it too.
Well, yeah. I'm trying to get a couple guys who do writing the Galaxy's Edge. I'm going to try and get some interviews on here. I'm talking to some people. I'm going to try and do it because I haven't read these big series. I haven't read in. There's so many little golden nests of series that you just don't know about because there's just so many books out there.
Audio books 3x speed, man. You get through them a lot quicker.
I'm doing like I could do 2-3 books a week just reading the audio because like if I do like 7-hour a day, that's that's a book or nearly a whole book. So a couple of days I can do a few.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is actually reviewing them and getting them up.
That's the hard part. I get through a lot of books, but finding the time to record it and edit it, and before I forget, your green screen work is on point in your videos, and I want to pick your brain about that because get something sexy in the background going would be nice besides the white. But
that's why I put the bookshelf back there. I was like, at least it looks like I'm kind of know what I'm doing.
Because I'm painting here now, I can't do mine because I had it all screwed in the walls and stuff. It's plastered and painted.
I can't hang up my audiobooks. So, but yeah, we have here in a couple hours, as Ramsey said, going to be doing Oathbringer. And then next month, going to be doing some theory crafting. Hopefully get Ramsey on for that as we prepare for Rhythm of War. And then, every Sunday we do Geek Out streams, live book discussions. Glad to have both Ramsey and Joe on. For the Lost Fleet series, we haven't quite got the schedule ironed out yet, but we've talked about rotating between the 3 channels. So make sure you follow those guys to see where we go.
It'll update on the Discord too. I'll keep everybody updated on that.
Yes. We'll make sure to get the Discord links in there as well. And thanks everybody who joined us for the live stream. And everybody that watches this afterwards, looking forward to continuing this read along, as well as hopefully jump in on a couple of these other ones you guys have been talking about. So, yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.